and my business partner doing a live training, and I was trying to illustrate a point about something, so we're pantomiming it. And after we did this, Mandy says to me, "I'm gonna kill you." I was in yoga pants, and the shot was like right at this region, right? And we started talking about the imposter syndrome. Can we give Mandy a mic? Because what you said about what happened for her, other than me, I hate what I'm wearing, why am I on Facebook Live right now? What she said, this defines imposter syndrome. This defines what imposter syndrome does to you if you don't understand how to use it to your benefit. So in this moment, as I'm pulling her onto camera, where did your mind go? And what did you start to tell yourself, and what did you start to do, more importantly?
Well, when you pulled me on camera, you said, "Oh, my business partner Mandy," because I was off screen the entire time answering or throwing questions to Mel. And every time Mel says business partner, I go, everyone watching does not believe that this 12-year-old looking person is your business partner. Everyone thinks, and so I was talking to Mel about how every time she says the word business partner, I don't believe it. And even though I am in every way, shape, and form, I still have there is a huge gap between what I think my function is in our business and what I think people look at me as. And a lot of it has to do with external opinions. So if someone else says something to me, I start to believe that.
So what did you do though? Because what's interesting about imposter syndrome, everybody, is how it then impacts how you act. So here we are doing a live training. We've got probably 40,000 people on, the stream. And Mandy and I are trying to illustrate a point through a really weird pantomiming thing that we were doing. And she's busy looking at what?
Oh, I was looking at the comments.
For what?
I was looking at people going, I was waiting for someone to say, "How do I get that job? Like, why does that chick get that?" So I was looking for people to start questioning why I'm in that position and they're not.
So this is the danger of imposter syndrome, and this is why I wanted to explain this. Because imposter syndrome can be a really good thing, but it's a really bad thing if you're in the moment and you let that self-doubt that comes from feeling like a fraud or that you're unworthy direct your action. So instead of being, we still pulled it off and it was an amazing training, but Mandy was literally two different people. One person was eyeing the comments, waiting for the bashes to come, because you've trained yourself to expect them. That's where the habit piece comes in. This stuff becomes a habit when you repeat it. And so what we're going to do, and we had this conversation because Mandy obviously knows all the stuff that we talk about, and she uses it as well. She caught herself, was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm doing it. I'm not gonna stop." Like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, do not look for that. How many of you can relate to that? Yes, okay, let's have a mic right here. Oh, feelings are rising up. You can choose how you act, right? Okay, see? So what feelings just rose up?
I can totally relate.
Yep.
Last night I posted a video blog about how to know when to leave your job or when
Are you
to
Holly?
stay. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Say, stalker.
Wow. So special. And after I posted it, I'm still very new at posting videos about myself, and after I posted it, I kept wondering, like, oh my gosh, when is someone going to make fun of this video? When is somebody going to write a nasty comment? Like, oh my gosh, maybe I should just delete it. It's crap. Like,
who can relate to this?
Yeah.
I can certainly relate to that. Yes.
Oh.
That is so the feelings are natural. What you do and what you think is a choice. So feeling exposed is natural. Feeling that kind of worriedness, natural. Maniacally going back to the comments every 5 minutes to see if anybody's posted anything, that's a choice, right? Letting your thoughts linger there, that's a choice. Letting your thoughts take you to, should I delete it? Should I not delete it? Should I be doing this? Maybe I should quit my job. Maybe I should never do this. Like, that is the choice. And so that's where we're going to go to war. Make sense? Okay, great. Excellent. Thank you, Holly. Because in my mind, imposter syndrome, perfectly normal. Okay? More importantly, good thing. It's a good thing. It's a good thing if you know how to not let it direct bad behavior. So the reason why it's a good thing is because as you are feeling like you're stretching yourself, you're learning. And this is all gonna build, like this whole class is like a bunch of Legos that build on top of each other. So the other thing is that the reason why you're feeling it is because you're growing. That's why you feel that way. It is so normal and natural because you're doing something new. And every time you do something new, it is uncomfortable. It just is by definition how it goes. It only disappears as you keep doing it. As you keep putting up videos, as you keep learning, that's the only thing that will make it disappear. And here's the other thing. If there's somebody in this room or watching online that doesn't feel like a fake or a fraud, sorry, you're not pushing yourself. You're lazy. You're scared. You're hiding. This is something you want to feel. You want to feel worried. You want to feel like concerned about whether or not you're exposed. Imposter syndrome is a great thing. If you do not feel this way in some area of your business and your life, you're not growing, and that's a problem. So we're going to give you the skills, though, so that as you're in that in-between state, where, look, hey, I had one chapter that's been great for the last 6 years. I've learned a lot. I'm now starting the next one. It's gonna have a lot of moments where I don't feel like I know what I'm doing. It's gonna have a lot of moments where I post stuff and I'm like, should I have done that? That's natural and that's normal. Catch yourself, though, and we're gonna start to teach you how you own the behavior and the thoughts that follow, okay? So that's the secret, frankly. It's the ability to push yourself into a zone that's terrifying and then maintain self-control as you ride the wave instead of torturing yourself the entire time. So here's a question. If you had more confidence, how would your business and life change for the better? If you had more confidence, how would your business and life change for the better? In just a second, we're gonna pass around mics and figure this out. I will tell you right now that these are the changes that have happened in my business in discovering real confidence, not the fake confidence, real confidence. I can say no. I can say no without doing that thing like, should I have said no? Do they hate me now? Are we still friends? I don't know. I can say no and then not feel guilty. I have the ability to align my goals, my values, and my actions. So feelings are not driving what's going on. Goals, values, aligned with actions. So much more free. Great negotiator. Great. You know, one of the things we're going to talk about, and I hope that you ask about your business, is how you get the money you deserve. Because if you're not getting paid what you want to get paid, your feelings are doing the negotiating. You're afraid to lose clients. You're afraid somebody will talk bad about you. You're afraid somebody's going to react to that price. Garbage. Okay? Feeling that way, normal. Letting it dictate whether or not you ask for what you want is a choice. Focusing on your priorities. I make a lot more money. A lot more money. Because my feelings are not in charge of the money that I make. Got it? Really important in self-control. So if you had more confidence, how would your business and life change for the better? Before we get you to raise your hands and kind of go for it, I want you to think about this next chapter. I want you to think about getting what you came for by taking this course. How would your business or life change if you had more confidence? Who's going to go first before I start calling on people? Yes, right here. Okay. Do we have a mic?
How would my life be different?
Yeah.
All of my dreams would come true.
Tell us about your dreams. What are they?
I know that I'm here to make a difference in everyone's life who crosses my path and how I feel when I listen to you, Mel, and I'm also a graduate of POI, and that is that they know how great they are within, and that they are able to share their gifts in the world, just feel good about themselves. I like people to feel good about themselves when they're with me, but to carry that on because it's within them that they're feeling good.
Right. What else would happen if you had more confidence?
I would have more.
Because doesn't you occur? Because here's an interesting thing. There's confidence that's perceived and projected, and then there's the real confidence inside. And so you project confidence. Where is it that you're struggling?
The simplest thing probably for anyone maybe, and that's taking care of myself, changing my diet. I did start exercising and I can't, I've never been an exerciser in my entire life. Listening to Mel, I started in July and I can't live without it. Like every day I'm like, oh good, this thing ends at this time, I get to go to my yoga class.
Wow.
I've never,
See, after
would never
15
say that.
years of exercising, I still don't feel that way. That's amazing.
I've never been an exerciser. I'll go scuba diving, that's my exercise.
So where does self-doubt plague you?
Like you said, the imposter, and I'm starting the imposter syndrome. And so for many years, I just sat back and did nothing. I was self-isolating. I wasn't out in the world. And surprisingly, I didn't lose my family or friends. But it was to the point where I just didn't take care of anything. And I know that I am responsible for everything. And I lost my home. I had to file bankruptcy. I was just like psychologically unemployable. I could not work. And something
So the legacy of that is still haunting you.
No, something shifted and I said, I want to be of service. I don't know where that came from, but prayer or whatever. And since then, I've been making change is really slow for me.
Okay. Change typically is very slow for everybody. And the thing that I'm trying to tease out is, because as you can hear, projecting a lot of confidence, a lot of self-awareness, had hit bottom, just like a lot of us have, clawed her way out of it, and there's clearly a thirst for more, right? You can hear that, can't you? I think that what I want you to listen for in this course is, I think that the habits and the thinking patterns that you have about whether it's the imposter syndrome and feeling like a fraud, or it is years of bashing yourself, that is the place that I want you to really have a breakthrough in. Because I think you've got, if you can figure out how to become an exerciser after 30 years of not doing it and actually enjoy it, you can change anything. Now it's time to go to the mental habits that still act like a really heavy, wet blanket over your life, okay? Awesome. Sure, who else? Yes, Hector, right in the front row here.
So I have more confidence, I get more clients, I'm a wedding
Perfetto,
photographer.
You're a wedding photographer and you get more clients.
More clients, I can charge more,
Yes.
I can,
How much do you charge right now?
right now, not enough.
What do you charge?
For 10 hours, 2,100.
Okay, and what do you want to charge?
I wanna charge like 4,000, 5,000.
Okay, and what's the story you're telling yourself about
This-
why you can't charge
The
that?
story, I'm not good enough, I don't have enough equipment, I don't know if people are gonna like what I do.
Do you like what you do?
That's another thing.
Do you see? We just got it right there. See, the thing, oh, this is really good. Okay. So the thing that I want you to think about is that at the heart of this, you have a story that you're not good enough as a photographer yet. Is that true?
I think my thing is always been a perfectionist, but that's
Do we have any other perfectionists in here?
but
Yes.
now I understand that's just fear, right? It's fear, and I'm trying to. I post a lot of stuff lately because I'm following the rule, and a lot of stuff I don't even like it myself.
But do other
But
people
I'm
like
pushing
it?
my people like it. There is no negative about it, but it's still in my head like.
See, the source of all of the pain and the lack of money for you is coming from the fact that you don't like your work yet. And that you're such a perfectionist that until you can break the habit of going for trying to make things perfect, which it will never be. It will never be, it'll be done, but it might not be perfect. until we can break that habit, and it's a form of self-doubt, till we can break you of that habit, you're always gonna feel unstable, like not on stable footing about asking for the $4,000.
That's the thing, because right now I think I have make a lot of improvements because I read stuff and I try to get more around positive people and
Yeah.
coming like here.
Yep,
But it's like 3 days I'm on the top, the other 3 days I'm on the bottom.
welcome to humanity. Yes,
So like, okay.
ride the wave, Hector.
So I said, it has to be a way that I can be more constant with the way I feel.
Yes, there is.
Right? Because it's a point in your life, like, I let fear control my life my whole time. So I said, you know what, I'm tired. I'm sick and tired of living my life to 25% of my ability and capacity. I make myself miserable, I'm making my family miserable. I got 3 kids, I got a wife. Sometimes you just act like a stupid.
Yeah,
Because you don't know what to do. It's like you start feeling it and you project it and you just react. Like yesterday, I have a little episode with my wife because where you at?
ooh, tell us about it.
Yeah. yeah, because, I think it's like I shaking and stuff, but I think that's what I need to do. Even I got like some confidence and I said, I just gotta talk what I feel. I was thinking about writing everything, but I said, no, I'm gonna go there and whatever happens is gonna happen because I like to control. I said, no, I'm not gonna control it. I really wanna go and push myself to use whatever I feel I'm gonna say it. So yesterday I called my wife and she didn't answer it. And I started like, okay, what's going on? Maybe I don't know, I start getting worried because, the 3
Right,
kids and
of course.
I'm very worried. And being honest, jealous. Like, what's going on right there? And then I start and like
Well, I like that. I need that sound effect. I wish I could roll my arms because I like, yes.
And
yes.
then like, and I understand and when she finally answered me like, hey, what's going on? Like, nothing. The phone was in silence. Like, really? But I'm not home. Why I'm more aware, blah, blah, blah. Like, and she like, you know what?
You know what's so interesting? So there's a couple things that I love about you. Number one, I love just that you are taking the coaching of get what you came for, and you're just putting it all out there. Okay, this is courage in action right here. This is actually real confidence. He doesn't feel confident, but this is what it is. He's trying. He's like putting it out there, and he's being honest. And how many of you can relate to any aspect of this story? Raise your hand. Look around. So there's a couple of things, and I think that number one, there's an aspect to your own skills and your own celebration of work that if you were to develop a few new habits around that, it would bolster your confidence, because once you understand the science of confidence and the importance of seeing the actions first, not the belief, I'll prove to you that kind of going and addressing the skill piece so that you yourself feel more confident and celebrate your work, that'll help. Number two, what I love about what you said is he is proving a point that we haven't even got to yet. That your life happens in these 5-second windows. That in the most profound part of your story that would change any of our lives is when he called his wife and she didn't answer, and then make that sound for me. Your mind went, yeah? That happens in 5 seconds flat.
Yeah.
Right? You can't control whether or not your spouse picks up the phone. The feelings that rise up, whether it's jealousy or anger or frustration, totally normal and natural. What you do next is a choice. And so for you, there's going to be 2 things that I want you to be thinking about as we go through all of the curriculum here, is I want you to be thinking about, number one, the self-control mentally, so you don't go down that tunnel. And number 2, what is missing in my craft and my skills as a photographer so that I feel that I am worthy of $4,000? Look, if you need a fancy camera because that's what a $4,000 photographer has, so be it. But if you're actually gathering and collecting equipment and collecting certifications as a way to hide and not have to do it, that's self-doubt. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Give him a round of applause. Awesome. All right. Oh, you gotta hold on. Oh, you gotta give it back. Okay, great. Sorry, I'm like, okay, anybody in the back? Let's go in the back. Somebody in the back. Yes.
I'm living a very duplicitous life right now.
What does that mean?
I'm a healer by training, and that's really what I want to
Okay.
be. And I work for an auto broker, which I also have fun and I love my job, but
So you're
it's not who I
healing
am.
car loan situations, and then you're
Well-
healing like human. I'm just kidding.
I like to believe that I bring my ability to listen to people, to really listen to the work that I do.
I bet you do.
However,
I bet you do that, not like I bet
Yeah.
you want to be doing that. I bet
yeah.
you do. Yeah.
However, it's not who I am.
Okay.
And I had a healing practice for a long time, which I can very much relate to what Hector was saying, and the coaching that you gave him is very true for my experience with that.
What happened?
Well, I met someone, I got into a relationship, and that person didn't approve of me and what I was doing, and so I let that, and so I burned my business to the ground, basically. Yeah,
And where's that relationship now?
over.
Okay, good.
Surprising, right?
So what did you learn from that relationship? Because the thing that's interesting is 7 years ago, I signed a talk show deal with ABC. And I had a call-in radio show with Sirius. And it didn't lead to the thing that I thought was gonna happen. It kind of, like, my career totally fizzled out. And in looking back, I realized it happened because I wasn't ready. It happened because I think that, our soul and our lives kind of work on levels, and that there are lessons at every level. And if you're stubborn, if you're not ready, if you can't see the lesson at this level, and by the way, what is the lesson you need to learn? It's all the stuff you struggle with. Jealousy, or smallness, or hiding. Until you actually complete the level at the lessons at the level that you're on, you're not going to the next level. And so for me, it kind of comes back to that story of me being in the hotel last night and going, holy cow, 6 years later, I'm actually ready. Like, I got everything that I needed in order to step into the things that I really want to do with control and power and a sense of purpose. And so what is it that you needed to learn? If we look at today as the next chapter.
Well, I think all of that's true. Looking back at what I wanted to create, I just kind of like shake my head and laugh a little bit. I'm like, I wasn't ready. The kind of person that I really needed to be I wasn't her back then. And what's coming up now, today, being here, I mean, everything you said, this is definitely another chapter that's opening. And I'm like, oh, this is really different. Maybe now I'm ready. Maybe the whole story about the relationship and why it happened really, maybe all of that's not even true, and maybe it doesn't matter why, but maybe I just wasn't ready.
Well, here's another twist on it. So you could use what happened in that relationship as a story to disempower yourself, or you could use the story in that relationship as a way to propel you into the next chapter. Because the fact is, if you get involved in a relationship and it shrinks you, and you stop doing the things that make you you, and that fulfill you, and that expand your soul, or that make you the kind of person that you're really proud of, that's obviously a terrible relationship. But more importantly, there's something about your own real confidence that you needed to figure out.
Yep.
And in order for your business and your art and your whatever you create to go to that next level, the first person you have to believe in is you, because it goes back to the unique challenge of being a creative. You're putting yourself out there. When you're doing auto loans or, whatever, I don't even know what you do.
We're a broker.
When you're brokering deals, how you behave reflects you, but the work itself doesn't necessarily. When you're doing what all of you do, this is deeply personal, which means every kind of three. First of all, the first mistake that we make about confidence, we think it's a personality trait. It's not a personality trait. So personality traits, being introverted, being extroverted. Interesting, there's new research out that shows that most people's personality actually changes over the course of their lifetime. You might start out introverted, then you kind of span more towards being extroverted later in life, vice versa. The other thing about personality is that it is, let me see how I want to say this. There's a really interesting TED Talk by this super cool professor from the University of Cambridge that talks about how your personality is not actually fixed either. So for example, he was an introvert, this guy that gave the TED Talk, this professor. But when there's something that you really believe in that matters to you, you can act out of character in order to further it. So he's an introvert. It just drags all the energy out of him to get in front of a class and profess. But because it's something that matters to him, he can push through being introverted, act out of character for 45 minutes, and profess, and then of course he's completely gassed for the next 3 hours. Because introversion, extroversion has more to do with what drains you and what energizes you. I'm married to a super introvert, and he gets drained by being around a ton of people. I'm an extrovert. I get energized by being around a ton of people, and if I'm alone, I'm drained. So, you know, it's confidence isn't something that is attached to your personality. And a lot of us make the mistake of thinking, oh, that extroverted person has a lot more confidence than I do. No. They're just louder, okay? I was super extroverted and bossy for a very long time. Not believing myself at all. The bossiness was coming from the insecurity. And there's a lot of folks that are very introverted and don't like to be the center of attention because it's uncomfortable or because it drains them. But they really, truly believe deeply in what they're thinking and what they do. So it's not part of your personality trait. Now, the second thing, it's not fixed. So just because you have some confidence now does not mean you're going to have it later. It's not fixed at all. And the other thing that's interesting is it's not everywhere all the time. So you might be super confident when you walk into the kitchen. Like I'm super confident, I can walk into a refrigerator and just kind of, because my mom grew up on a farm and come from a long line of farmers, and I can open up a fridge and make you anything without a recipe, because that's how I was raised. Very confident in my skills in that world. There are other things that I'm not confident at all about. So it's not like if you're a confident person somewhere, you're going to be confident everywhere. Let me show you the truth about confidence in general. Confidence is a skill. It's not a trait. It is a skill. The other thing is that it is active, meaning if you stop working on it, you're not going to have it. And the other thing about it that's kind of cool is it's situational. So again, this goes back to the thing that there can be things in your life that you're super confident about and things in your life that you're just not confident about. And you know, you see all the time people that have bad things happen to them and they get knocked off their game. You see people that, you know, whatever, they lose a race they're running or an election, or they lose a piece of business, and they used to be confident, but now their world is rocked. So how do you build it? So there's been a tremendous amount of research about confidence and how you build it. I know we all want more of it, but how do you build it? So all of the research points to this, something called the confidence competency loop. And I'm going to show it to you in just a second. The confidence competency loop. Anybody want to take a guess at what that means? Don't worry, there's no stupid answers. Go for it. Yeah, preparation. Good. Anybody else? Shout it out. Practice. What else? Yes. Consistency. Anyone else? Excellence. She said failure. See, because what happens in life is that when you try something new, imposter syndrome, right? Let's build on the imposter syndrome. You try something new, and all of you, this is a new chapter. When I see that kind of witchery voodoo stuff happen and I walk into a hotel and I get a sign like that, it's like for all of us. When you try something new, because I want you to step into that imposter syndrome. I want you to embrace it. It's a good thing. When you try something new, you're going to be terrified. You're going to be nervous. That's normal. You're either going to succeed or you'll survive. Because even if you fail, you're all still sitting here, so you're not dead. So whatever it is that you've gone through, you've survived it. And just like I told you that, look, I had a talk show deal 7 years ago that basically went, what's that sound thing? I can't do it. I'm going to learn how to roll my R's today. I learned something from that. And we cognitively know this, and see, this is the challenge with these kind of topics. They're heady. We know these things, but how do you get this in your bones? You've had a million people, try until you fail, failure's a good thing, we all say it, it's all over my Instagram feed, it's like, you gotta see it, but how do you get it in your bones? Well, you understand that when you succeed or survive, you learn something, right? And then when you learn something, you're building a skill. This is just like, remember how in the very beginning of the course, I said I'm gonna teach you how to run, you as the equipment. When you first picked up a camera, it was overwhelming. You probably shot some really horrible photos. When you first used Photoshop, when you first did any kind of editing, when you shot your first video, terrible. When I look at the stuff that I did just, last year, horrible compared to what we're doing now. Mortifying that 10 million people have seen that TED Talk. Seriously, because it's not what I would consider to be my good work, not anymore, because I've built so much more competency, right? So when you build skills, you gain competency. And what's interesting is the more that you master something, whether it's cold calling, or it's a selling process, or it's negotiating and walking away from deals where they won't pay you $4,000, the more that you gain competency, the lower your anxiety drops, the more your nerves drop, the more your doubt drops because you're learning it. And so what ends up happening when you have competency is now you've got confidence. Pretty cool, right? So we talk about this stuff, but understanding that this is the only way to build it. You can't think your way to it. And I know a lot of us in the personal development space talk a lot about mindset, and we're going to get into that. But it doesn't start with mindset. And this is what I want to pound into your brains. Yes, thinking positive helps a lot. But confidence and self-doubt, breaking the cycle starts with action. That's what it starts with. You cannot positively think your way through the kind of emotional angst that Hector's putting himself through. It's not going to work. But if he sees himself acting differently, he's going to change. That's why this is my definition for confidence. It's the decision to try. You just saw in that model, when you try, you succeed or survive. You then learn something. As you learn something, you build skills. As you build skills, you gain competency. And that's what gives you confidence. It all begins with the willingness to try. That's where it begins. And so if I can teach you to do anything, it's to understand that. It's to understand that in those moments where the emotions rise up, the feelings rise up, you feel yourself shrinking, that you know you have a choice. And confidence comes to those people that decide to try in that moment. Because you always have a choice about what you're going to do. Briefly, particularly for the people that are watching online that don't know the 5-second rule, I just want to tell you the quick story behind it so that you start to understand where my perspective is coming from. So in 2008, I was super stuck. I mean, super stuck. I was 41 years old and, or 40 years old rather, and I thought things were working out. I mean, my husband had started this restaurant business, although I should tell you this story first, because it's a really good story. My husband got fired from a job, and he comes home with a box, and I say, I didn't know he had been fired yet. I say, honey, what's in the box? And he says, oh, my stuff. And I say, your stuff? Why do you have your stuff? And he says, well, I got fired. And so I immediately, you can't control what's happening. So I immediately go into cheerleading. Okay, that's okay, sweetheart. You're gonna get another job. It's gonna be great. Call the recruiter, go work for the competitor. We got this, come on, let's do this, right? And he puts the box down and he says those 3 words you never wanna hear in your marriage. Yeah, he says, I've been thinking. And I'm like, oh, no, not in this relationship. We kind of agreed to that. If you refer to the vows, line 7, no thinking. That's what we said. And he said, I'm miserable. I'm miserable. I hate my job. I hate working for other people. I know a lot of you feel that way, that you're working at something as you try to pursue the thing that you love. I don't want to go do another PowerPoint presentation for a company I don't own or I don't like. I really need to change. And so I say, okay, what do you want to do? And he says, well, I'd like to open a pizza restaurant. Like, excuse me? Like, with what money? What are you talking about, a pizza restaurant? Is there like some trust fund that was part of our marriage that I was not aware of when we got married? And he said, no. I said, I've just always dreamt of owning a restaurant. Like, why am I just hearing about this for the first time? I mean, this was also not something that you chose to share. And then I said the most, I think, famous lines of our 21-year marriage. I said, listen, buddy, that's not the word I used, but listen, dreams are for strangers. You get your ass back to that job, you be miserable, and you pay this mortgage, because that's what you do. And he said, no. And I'm going to be perfectly honest. This is one of those moments where you can't control what's happening. And boy, oh boy, were their feelings rising up. And they were not that nice. And I was a complete you-know-what for at least 3 or 4 months. Like just nasty and wicked and condescending and defeatist. And some of you may even have people in your life that are like that with you right now. That they don't believe in your dreams. That was me. And, you know, a friend of mine then said to me, and this started to change everything, she said, listen, Chris has made his choice, now it's time for you to make yours. You're either going to get on board with this, because the train's already left the station, or roll the clock forward 2 years, and this is a really handy little tool. If you roll the clock forward 2 years and you look at how you're behaving right now, where does it get you? And if you don't like where it gets you, it's time to change. And I realized I'd be divorced. He probably wouldn't open the restaurant and he'd resent me. It was not what I wanted. And so I started to deal with my own emotions at that point. And lo and behold, they did open up a restaurant. And the first one, I was wrong. The first one was absolutely amazing. They won Best of Boston. They had 40 seats. What's that? Stone Hearth? Yeah. Yeah. And so, oh yeah, because there's one in Portland, isn't there? I think there's one in Portland. You're from Seattle. Oh, wow. Hey, did you hear that? I was like a stone heart. That was good. That was good.
That time.
Yes, I was. I was a stone heart. I'm going to steal that joke. That's a good one. Yes.
Was he more like that?
Yes, a stone heart. I had a stone heart. It's so true, because I was afraid. I was afraid. I was falling into one of the traps of self-doubt. Fear. How are we going to pay for this? What's going to happen? Well, so the first one was successful. And what do you do when things are successful in your business? Oh, you go all in. So we put in the home equity line and all the savings and the 401ks, and we leveraged everything we had, because why would you get a loan? I mean, you know, you got to be an entrepreneur. Stupid. And the second location was twice as expensive as we thought to get it built. The third one took a little bit longer, and when they opened up the second location, it was really great for about a week, and then it looked like this all the time. And fear set in. And when fear sets in, we're going to talk about this, it paralyzes you. And by the time they finally closed this, and it was right about this point that I lost my job. So we had all of our savings in a sinking ship, and me now in a mental sinking ship because I had lost my job. And by the time they finally closed this, it was an $800,000 loss. Kids' college savings gone, home equity line gone. So it wasn't even like money that we had, it was money we had borrowed that now we owed. The 401ks, it was terrifying, absolutely terrifying. And then on top of it, you've got a situation where you've got other restaurants open, and one's doing okay, we're trying to get the other open, and they're committed to fixing it. And so it just became this spiral of self-doubt. And you know, I need to say something. This isn't the worst thing that could happen to you. Losing somebody that you love, way worse. Facing a health diagnosis, way worse. But the stuff that you're dealing with, when it happens to you, it's personal to you. and it feels like the world is ending. Now, how does this relate to confidence? Here's how. When you need it most, you don't have it. When you need courage most, it's hard to muster it up. Now, we all respond to change very differently. I mean, Chris would spring out of bed and he would be out that door at 6 o'clock in the morning and he'd be meeting with his business partner trying to fix it, and ultimately they did. Ultimately, they did kind of pull this crashing plane up and go on to stabilize it and open more restaurants and take care of their investors. And we ended up not getting our money out of it, but it was at least something that Chris and his business partner were able to do an amazing job of rescuing and stabilizing. He's also a smart guy, and he knew he did not want to be in the house when I woke up, because I was a first-class stone hard right here. And that's because it's easy to do one of these, right? It's easy to say it's your fault, it's the boyfriend's fault, it's the economy's fault, it's that stupid customer's fault that said that to me. But whenever you do this, there's 3 fingers pointing right back at you, and it's a way to remind yourself that the power's in here. Now, I didn't know this at the time. I was struggling. I was struggling because I had no confidence. I was struggling because I had no job. I was struggling because I was just swallowed by self-doubt. And every morning, when the alarm would go off, it was this amazing moment. It was a moment like Hector's. It was a moment like when the phone, he calls his wife, she's not there, the emotions immediately take over. He knows not to do that. You know in that moment not to be a jerk, not to sound off, not to get jealous. You know that that doesn't help. I would have the alarm go off, and the second it went off, that wave of emotions came up. Failure, I'm a loser, I'm gonna lose everything, I'm the worst mother. Like, I'm so angry at Chris, I'm terrified, just so stuck. And within, moments, I'd be hitting the snooze. Because self-doubt triggers action. And we're going to talk about that in the next section that we're going to be doing. So I was stuck like a lot of us get stuck. You get stuck between knowing what you need to do and actually not doing it. It's the curse of knowledge. I don't want you to walk out of this course thinking about the stuff we've talked about. I want you to walk out of here actually knowing how to change. So I was drinking too much. I was hitting the snooze alarm 4 or 5 times a day. I was not looking for a job. I was not exercising. I was isolating myself. I was torturing myself with the wet blanket of horrible thoughts. And it was pretty grim. I mean, Chris was sleeping on the couch. The bankruptcy letters were arriving. It was really bad. And then one night, the commercial went off, and I saw this rocket ship, and I had this epiphany. Now, this is where being a creator comes in, because your work is driven from here. Your wisdom is driven from here. These instincts that you have that nudge at you, you've got to learn how to listen to them. And so for whatever reason, I was like, that's the answer. Tomorrow morning, I got 5 seconds to get out of bed. I'm going to launch myself out of bed like a rocket ship. That's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to move so fast that my own mind can't talk me out of it. Now, it might have been the 4 bourbons that I had that night that gave me that idea, but for whatever reason, I went with it. So the next morning, same thing, same situation as with Hector. The alarm goes off, immediately the feelings rise up, right? Because you can't control how you feel. I felt overwhelmed, I felt like a loser, I felt like a bad mom. I did not feel like getting up. Feelings are normal. But you can always choose what you do and what you think. So I went 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I know it's the dumbest story you've ever heard, but this is actually what happened. And I stood up. And I'll never forget it, you guys. It was a really strange moment. It was one of those chapters beginning. Because what happened is I was standing in my bedroom. It was a Tuesday in February in Boston, Massachusetts. And I thought, what the hell just happened? That is the dumbest, 5, 4, 3, 2, what? I literally thought I might be a witch. I thought like I invented some spell that worked, okay? And then the next morning, the alarm goes off, and I had the Hector moment. We're gonna now call it the Hector moment. I'm the stone hard, but he's the Hector moment. I had the Hector moment where the emotions, the alarm goes off, I don't feel like getting up. I'm still angry at Chris. We still have all these problems. I'm still the loser mom. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I'm getting up. The next morning, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I'm getting up. And that's when it hit me. It hit me that, oh my God, in 5 seconds flat, either self-doubt wins or you do. In 5 seconds flat, Either your feelings dictate what you're about to do, or you do. In 5 seconds flat, you can change anything, and that changes everything. And so I made a little bet with myself. I said, okay, let's see if this is actually a spell that works. Let's test this sucker out, okay? I decided if I found myself in a situation where I knew what I should do, and I caught myself hesitating, shrinking, or hiding, I would use this stupid thing, and I'd go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I would push myself to move. And so I started using it, and the damnedest thing started to happen. It was the craziest thing, you guys. Like, I would 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get up. And then I'd walk into the kitchen, and I'd see Chris, and I'd be like, I want to kill you. And I'd go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I'd be like, I love you. What can I do to help you today? I was aligning with 5-second decisions my values and the outcome that I wanted with how I behaved in the moment. Flying off the handle with jealousy, drowning yourself with a wet blanket of self-doubt, that's not aligned with your values. You can, when you reduce your life down to these windows of opportunity where you can take control in a moment, you win. You win every single time. Now, the 5-second rule is really simple. The moment you begin to hesitate, count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and move forward before your mind stops you. You gotta count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You cannot count up, because you can keep going. And it does not require any focus. Do not count out loud, because it scares people if you're sitting in a meeting. Like, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I'm talking now. Yes, no, don't do that. And it comes back to this point. Feelings are natural. Your behaviors and thoughts are a choice. And the 5-second rule, and we're gonna unpack the science, show you how it works with the science of confidence, how it works with the science of self-doubt, how it works with all of the research around habits. We're gonna be coaching you using this and using a lot of the research around habits and self-doubt and fear. And you know, I just said it, in 5 seconds, you can change anything, and that's gonna change everything about your life, because this is the secret to self-monitoring. Whatever it was that you said that you wanted more money, you wanted more, the ability to be able to focus, you wanted to change your relationship. It comes down to changing who you're being every single time. And the fastest, the simplest way to do that is to reduce the things that you need to do into 5-second windows. Now, I never intended to tell anybody about this, because first of all, it sounds really stupid. Just count to 5, you'll change your life. I'm done, mic drop. The other reason why I didn't tell anybody, honestly, is that I didn't know why it worked. Like, I honestly thought I was a witch. I honestly thought I've figured out something like the secret, but it really works, you know? And Chris started to use it, and our kids started to use it. And the other thing is, it was sort of like my thing, and it was classified, because I was now starting to get in shape and make more money and negotiate, and I all of a sudden wasn't procrastinating, and it was crazy how it was working. And so why would I want you to have it? I mean, this was like for me. And then I gave that talk. And at the very end, I think because of the panic attack I was having, I let it slip. Like, if you rewatch that talk, you'll see at the very end, I'm like, oh, by the way, there's this thing I do. I don't explain it because I still didn't know why it worked. And then I walked off that stage. You already know the story. It went up a year later, and then something crazy started to happen. People from around the world started to write. And they were all writing about the 5-second rule. They were doubling their business in 18 months and being present with their kids. They were finding the courage to call executives and grow their business. They were using it as a selling tool to make cold calls, because the phone does not dial when you think about it. And there is a momentum to calling. And if you engage in the hesitation and the hiding that gets triggered by self-doubt, you will not make the sales that you want to make. Selling is all about action. Building a business, all about action. Remember, it goes back to the head and the heart. It's so easy to teach to your teams. You were talking, Val, about how you have a team. This is something that you can easily teach to your teams. You're going to get addicted to it because it's so easy and it's stupid and it works every time that you use it. We see people using it to break habits, even 23 years of smoking, being sober. We see them using this in PTSD therapy and CBT therapy. I'm going to show you the science behind it because it turns out that this thing that I invented is a starting ritual, a very powerful one. It's a form of metacognition that switches the gears in your brain. And so we're going to unpack the science of how you can use it. You're going to find that you're more productive than you've ever been because you can't hide from yourself. Like, it's such a direct line to you and the things that you do to screw yourself over. And now you've got a way to just yank yourself out of the mode that we get in. And, you know, I think the thing that I'm most proud of is we know of about 17 people that have bothered to write us that have stopped themselves from killing themselves by using this rule. This gentleman, Steve, had boarded a ferry overseas, and he suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder. He was a veteran, and he boarded the ferry with the intention of jumping overboard. And he walked up to the railing, and, you know, this is something that I truly believe, and that is this, that I don't care how low your life gets or how high things get in terms of being amazing. Your wisdom, that inner wisdom, it never leaves you. In those critical moments in your life, it is speaking to you. And so Steve is standing there. He had the intention to jump overboard. And his wisdom was like, this is not the answer. So he goes 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. He turns, he gets help, and now he's doing better, much better, because he's in therapy and he's addressing it and he's learning the skills of self-monitoring. And so what happened for me in my life is, it's one thing if you're a witch and you come up with something that works for you. It's another thing when 250,000 people in 90 countries right here, and they are doing things that are wildly profound. So I felt a moral obligation to figure out, why does something so stupid work in such profound ways? And that is what led me to become a student of personal development and research confidence and research self-doubt and try all this stuff out so that I could understand it myself. And now that's what I'm sharing with you. Hey, if you wanted the license plate, it's gone in Arizona, and I just want to say, if you get a tattoo, it's on you. And I need to say that because people keep getting this tattooed on their body. And so the cool thing about the 5-second rule is this comes back to the confidence competency loop. It all begins with trying. Because when you try, you succeed or you survive. And when you succeed or survive, you now learn something. And when you learn something, you build a skill. And when you build a skill, you start to build competency. And when you build competency, you now have confidence. So this all relates to the 5-second rule because this is a tool that you're going to use to push yourself to try. This is a tool that you're going to start to use once we educate you on the 4 traps of self-doubt. It's the tool that you're going to use to break free of it. And, you know, if confidence is the decision to try, self-doubt is the decision not to. This is a really important beat because I want to take self-doubt out of the realm of the thinking. And I want you to walk out of here and understand that self-doubt is something that you do. If you manage a team of people that sell and they are not hitting their quota, I guarantee you, self-doubt is at play because they are not doing what they need to do. And it's getting triggered by doubts. And there are 4 ways that self-doubt triggers you. It is a decision. We talk too much about the feelings. Oh, I feel insecure. I feel this way. That's normal. But self-doubt triggers you to actually do something. Understanding self-doubt. First of all, it's a learned behavior. It's a learned behavior. You don't come out of the womb doubting yourself. In fact, if you look at any kid, I'm sure somebody's done a study of how many times kids actually fall down before they are able to stand up, right? They just keep going, keep going, keep going. We teach them to doubt themselves. You were taught to doubt yourself. You were, whether it was from school or from parents or from siblings or bullies or whatever, you were taught to doubt yourself. You were happily going through life, and then you started to worry about what people thought, or you had somebody that was hypercritical, and then you realized, ooh, I gotta gut check myself. You know, our son, we had an experience with our son where he went to camp, and there was a bully. It was a disastrous situation, but I'm not gonna go there, but because you don't want to hear that sob story of mine. But He was bullied for 3 weeks straight. And the kid that I dropped off, who was exuberant and full of life, the kid that I got handed back after 3 weeks was like a shell of a human being. And what he said is that, he got picked on all day long. It started out as like the butt of the joke and, kind of making fun of him, and then it's a pile on in terms of that, and then they started screwing around with his stuff. And what he internalized is, I can't be myself. If I'm myself, I get that. And because he's stuck in a cabin with these kids, you can't hide like you can as an adult. So, and that is a really good explanation for what we do and how we learn it. Like, you have a couple things that happen to you and you start to internalize that, oh, I just better shut up. Oh, I just better shrink. Oh, nobody wants to hear what I have to say. Oh, people like that act like this. And so you learn this. And when you repeat any behavior, it becomes a habit. Let me show you what happens. So remember, we're going to continue to build here. We started by talking about how you can't control the feelings that might rise up, right? You can't control, like if I call on you and you have the quick nerves, you can't control that. It's totally natural. You can't control what's going to necessarily happen in your life and business. So you're going to have feelings that rise up. These feelings trigger you to think. That's an action. You start to overthink in reaction to being afraid that you're going to fail.
Right there, I'm just realizing that you overthink for the good stuff, but don't overthink for the bad stuff. Like my reaction, the Hector moment.
Yep, the
I
Hector
didn't
moment.
overthink being an ass.
Yes,
I just did it.
yes,
And when it's good stuff, it's when I overthink.
because you doubt yourself.
Yeah,
You're getting triggered by the fear and by the doubt. This is an action. I want you to understand self-doubt is not a feeling. It is the actions that you take in response to these whole array of normal feelings that we have. It impacts how much you sell or whether or not you sell. It impacts how you talk to people. It impacts whether or not you put your work out there. It impacts what you price things at. And so what happens is, as you overthink, then you start to doubt yourself, and now you're stuck in this loop. And when I explain the science of habit loops and how they get encoded in your brain, this is going to make so much sense and be so liberating. Because this is the trap that we're all in. You get triggered by your feelings, and then you choose an action that keeps you trapped. And keeps you trapped in self-doubt. If you're nervous, the same thing happens, doesn't it? If you're feeling unsure, the same thing happens. If you feel like a fake, the same thing happens. All triggered by these feelings that are perfectly normal. If you feel overwhelmed, you start to overthink. If you feel the fear, you're afraid of getting rejected. Maybe you had a horrible breakup. Maybe you lost somebody that you love, and now you're terrified of rejection. The second that you sense it's coming, start overthinking. And here's the good news. Any behavior that you repeat, and you repeat that stuff all the time, so do I, it's a habit, and we can change it. So how does self-doubt affect your life? We've kind of talked about that. Let me tell you how it's affected my career. Number one, I spoke for free for 3 years. So after that TED Talk went crazy, people started calling and asking me if I would speak, and it never even occurred to me to charge. Because I was just so interested in sharing the idea about the fact that you can change anything with 5-second decisions. And I was so busy researching the science, because I had so many people writing me, that I thought this is a great opportunity to explore it with a live audience and learn more and see how people are using it. And so I had this experience, and you guys are going to love this. I think every one of you is going to relate to it. So I had, at the time, I just started with CNN, and Mandy and I had launched our first company, which was a little content aggregator. It was like a BuzzFeed for moms, which we've eventually sold. But what happened is I gave a talk, and it was at a huge women's conference. I think there were 10,000 women that attended this. Was it in Pennsylvania? I don't remember, Texas, somewhere like that. So there were these main speakers. So Hillary Clinton was a main speaker, and this incredible principal from Philadelphia was a main speaker, and the Nobel Prize winner was a main speaker in the big room with 10,000 people. And then I was one of the speakers, and I'll never forget this because I had the biggest breakout room of my life to date. It was 2,000 people. So I go, I give the speech, it goes totally fine. I leave, I'm sitting at the train station to catch a train home from Philadelphia to Boston, and a woman comes up to me. She walks up to me and she goes, oh, you're Mel Robbins, right? I said, yeah. She said, I was in your session. She said, it was fantastic. And then she goes, I was a speaker too. I was on a panel in the morning. And she says, can I ask you a question? And I said, sure. And she says, did you get your check yet? And I said, check? You got paid for that? And she says, you didn't? And she said, oh, I'm sorry. And she starts backing up going, I just assumed because you were in the big room that, and it was this really interesting moment where I thought, first of all, you are such a frigging idiot, number one. Number two, it never even occurred to me. And then I started to look into the business, and I think a lot of you totally undervalue yourself, especially because it's art, especially because you're a creator, especially because it's deeply personal. You will not get what you don't ask for. You just won't. And so, you know, a lot of what I'm also talking about comes from figuring out, how do I build a business then in something totally different? How do I price myself so that I'm not paid like a chick? You know, how do I position myself so that I build the kind of trajectory that I want? And so everything is figure-outable. And then from there, it's about you trying it, and you pushing yourself, and you catching yourself when you have these Hector moments. So I spoke for 3 years. I waited to start doing courses for almost 2 years, because I was convinced, oh, I gotta have a PhD, I gotta have a certification, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, I gotta do the other thing. I actually was nervous about whether or not I could record my own audiobook. But in my gut, as a creator, I knew, why the hell would I give anybody rights to something I can record myself? Why would I do that? If you're thinking about doing a book, number one, sever all audio rights from any deals that you do. That's number one. And number two, record it yourself. Seriously, you can upload it to Amazon through ACX and get 40% of the royalties yourself. The world has changed so much that it's also so cool that you're here, because this next chapter is also about you taking control and being smart about the decisions you're making as business people. You know, I have been actively talking myself out of doing live events. Actively. You're not ready. Nobody will show up. What are you, crazy? Where would you have it? What the hell would you talk about? Live events? What? How many of you are talking yourself out of stuff right now? Yes, absolutely. To do it. True story. Here's another one. You guys recognize this guy? So, do you know what Stephen King was doing as a career? A lot of you have a soul-sucking, I believe one of you described their job as. Well, hello. You know, you have a soul-sucking job that you can't stand, that's sort of bridging the gap between you and what you want to do. So he was a substitute teacher at a boys' academy in Maine. And at nights he worked as a security guard. And it was Hampton Academy, if you're interested. And so in